Live data streaming at idle. 2000 Lincoln Navigator. After I'd been on the interstate for about 15-20 miles. And now I'm sitting here parked and at idle. Here's my temp reading at the upper right, 183.2. RPMs, middle left. MAF, sensor pounds per minute, middle right. Voltage from the alternator, bottom right. Some sort of fuel metric, half a gallon an hour consumption. And then upper right is vehicle speed, which is 0. Now, when I turn this to the next screen, that's my O2 sensors. Bank 1 on the left. Bank 1, sensor 1 on the left upper. Bank 1 sensor, or Bank 2 sensor 1 on the left lower. O2 Bank 1 sensor 2, upper right. Bank 2 sensor 2, lower left. Lower right, sorry. Fuel trim numbers. Short-term fuel, Bank 1, upper left. Short-term, Bank 2, lower left. Long-term, fuel trim, Bank 1, upper right. And long-term fuel trim, Bank 2, lower right. Notice both of the long-term trim numbers are over 10. That's not enough to set a code. It needs to be 25 to set a code. But that's somewhat high. Usually, from what I've heard, is if they're under 10 or if they're between the minus and the plus 10 range, then they're considered normal. These long-term numbers, even though they're not triggering any kind of code, they seem to be a little bit high to me, which would indicate perhaps a vacuum leak somewhere. Let me rev this up and see if it makes a difference. RPMs at 2,000, 2,100, 2,200. Fuel trim's going down a lot. I'm going to let off on the gas. Let me go back up. So, it would appear that I have some sort of vacuum leak somewhere that's small enough to not trigger code, but which is in fact present. So, anybody viewing this, if you have any ideas about this, let me know, would you? Those Bank 2 sensor readings are also seem a little low to me. Usually they're like 0.45, 0.56 steady. But since I've been idling here for about 10 minutes, they haven't gotten above like 0.09 or 0.10 at the most. Whereas the front bank sensors, Bank 1, sensors, Bank 2 sensors, sensor 1, are doing what they're supposed to do, flip from one extreme to the other. The long-term, or the after the catalytic converter sensors, though, seem to be reading a bit low, but they are on. So, just curious, thought maybe you who are viewing this would have some ideas what all this means. After I get through doing this, I'm going to, I might as well do it now. Let's see. Find out if I can figure this out. This is OBDlink software. Let's see if it'll give me a diagnostic. Well, let's turn it off first. And let's reconnect it. It's reconnecting. This is a Bluetooth machine, so it will diagnostics, trouble codes, none. There are no codes. Okay, that's what I thought. So, what I think I'll do next is maybe try my forescan program, see if it gives me any kind of codes that aren't, OBD2 related. Sometimes I'll have codes in there that show up that don't trigger a check engine light. And I'll be back in a minute.